And so this next section is a free excerpt from our Green Beret Leadership Program. This section is going to be about time management. So a few keys when it comes to time management and what I'll be doing here. We'll talk a little bit conceptually, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper, and I'll give you a handful of different time management techniques and strategies that you can use in your life. On that, one of the keys here, really get into, I'd say, four keys. And this one I think is the most important when it comes to time management. Most important thing is having a honesty with yourself, holding yourself accountable, right? Keeping yourself to the schedule that you're going to say you're going to keep yourself to. And then the flip side of that, because these kind of push and pull onto each other, you've got to find that balance. Is you have to be honest with what you actually need in order to perform at a certain level. You can go through and look at something in your schedule and say, hey, this is only going to take me 30 minutes. Well, if it's going to take you an hour, then you just screwed up your whole schedule. You have to be honest with yourself about how much time something is going to take, right? We have to be honest with ourselves about how much time we're going to want to spend on a set type of activity. If you're looking at planning your week out and you're just like, I will do all of this work for 15 hours on Monday. Yes, you could, in theory, do that. You can do that. And the time estimates for each task throughout the day might be accurate. But is that how you want to spend your day? Now, the negative side there, of course, is we can trick ourselves, right? It is like the easiest thing to do is to trick ourselves, and it can cause a lot of damage in our lives. Of telling yourself, hey, I just really I can't work until 10 a.m. I just can't. I need my slow mornings, all that kind of stuff. You might need a slow morning. You might not be a morning person, but also 10 a.m. might be a little egregious, right? You have to hold yourself accountable to some extent and find where that line is. And that's one of the other keys there is that experimentation, pushing back and forth to try to find the right system that is going to work for you, the right routine that is going to work for you. That is the real key to time management. The best system is going to be the one that you keep. Any one of these tools I can throw out, they all can work and they all could be life changing for any one person. But the question is, what is it going to do for you, and having that kind of honest dialogue with yourself so you can find the best path forward. Because again, the most effective one of these tools is going to be the one that you actually use, right? I always like to reference dieting when it comes to that. Which diet is best? Well, nutritionists can probably point to certain ones and they can argue about that all day. But the real answer, the best diet is whatever you stick with. If you pick a super healthy diet and you do it for a week and you get back on the McDonald's on Sunday, that doesn't really do you any good. The best diet is the one that you can actually stick to, while, of course, making those changes to be healthy. Again, finding that real balance there. So going to some of the other keys here, planning is a big key for this when it comes to time management. Taking the time to look ahead at your schedule, planning out your days, planning the outcomes that you need, thinking about the different things that you need to do ahead of time, getting your timelines right, all of those different aspects of planning to make sure that you're not forgetting things when it comes to the time that you're managing. You want to make sure that you are well aware and doing it ahead of time so that when the time comes, you're not being reactive with it. One of my favorite ways to put this is, if you think of like the kind of standard 8-hour workday, right? Well, if you can plan out your 8-hour workday and have it be super efficient, if you start that at right when the 8-hour workday starts, that's going to take you 20, 30 minutes to plan it. That screws up your time. Now you're bouncing things around. You're completely off schedule, right? The little bit of time, I always use the example of like a Sunday night, Sunday afternoon, take it 30 minutes to plan out your week a little bit. Night before your work day, spending 10 minutes just to think about what you have the next day, your key outcomes for that day. Those different aspects, getting ahead is the real key to managing time, because when you can plan it, you can use those resources more efficiently. Other aspect there is make sure you are planning honestly, but plan for extra. Know that most things are going to take longer. If you are somebody who has worked on your car, you know that any sort of quick job easily becomes a 8-hour or 3-day, 4-day, 2-week fiasco, right? Those things can fall apart so fast. Most projects take a lot longer than we think because we're usually really optimistic about how quickly we can do things, how quickly we can transition from A to B to C. So not only how quick can we do each task, each of those 3 tasks, but then we forget about transition time and all those kind of things. Are those tasks going to require you to think in such a different way that even though, yes, I'm shifting gears, I'm not going to do a very good job. Personal example, I know that after a podcast, the last thing I want to do is go sit down and start typing things out. I was just talking. I want to spend time with people after that. That's where my energy is. That's where I'm looking at that time. So I have to be honest and plan my days around that, right? Giving yourself that honest dialogue and planning for extra where you need to for those transitions and those kind of things. Now, a lot of these are going to have contradictions when it comes to these keys, because what is the other aspect of that? Well, a project will always expand to the allotted time. Right? If you have something that you think should take an hour, and you're like, okay, well, Camden, you said plan for extra time, so I'll add an extra, hour on. It could take me 2 hours, and then I'll just fill in that extra time with other stuff. Well, no, most likely that project is going to wind up taking you 2 hours. You're going to expand to the time allotted. Projects just tend to do that. So you have to be aware of that as well. And again, always be honest with yourself, honest with that analysis of how you're using your time, how well you're using your time, and using that to reflect forward to how you plan the next week, the next month, whatever that is. Last key here that I want to talk about is a Stoic quote: be ruthless to that which does not matter. And the key is just when you're looking at your time and the way you spend your time, there's so many ways that we waste it. And it could be literally sitting and wasting it, laying in bed for an extra 2 hours in the morning, kind of like my example earlier, sitting on your phone, scrolling, kind of wasting small chunks of time throughout the day. There's all sorts of different ways that we waste time. You need to be honest with yourself about that. Look at those things and have a real personal audit of how am I spending my time? How much time am I putting into that thing? How much energy am I putting into that thing? And is it worth it? Is that something that deserves that much energy? Or is this something I need to dial back? Or is it something I need to cut out completely inside of my life, right? Be ruthless to that which does not matter. That's a really big key when it comes to time management as well, because you are going to need to cut things out. That's just a key there. So getting into the tools a little bit. So I've got 6 different tools that you can use, and these should help you. Like I said, one of these may help one person, one may help someone else. Each one of these could change somebody's life if applied the right way, and each one of them could do nothing for somebody else. You have to find the right one for you and experiment with it. And even with each one of these systems, find the way that it fits you personally. I'll use our first example, our first tool here for that example of personalizing it here. Time blocking. Going through your schedule, taking that pre-planning time like I was talking about, looking ahead, figuring out what you need to be doing and setting aside that time for it, setting aside those blocks of time blocking, makes sense. Setting aside those blocks of time for it inside of your schedule. I need to write the newsletter for our company. Okay, that's going to take me an hour. I'm going to go on my calendar and I'm going to set aside that time, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Thursday morning, so that I can write the newsletter. Going through and literally blocking out that time. For some things, it may be something like that where it's a bigger task. Also, a lot of the time, if you're looking at, you're somebody who has trouble keeping up on emails, right? They could be as simple as blocking out 30 minutes each morning to hit those emails so that you're getting ahead instead of kind of doing it sporadically throughout the day and missing things, right? Setting aside time for those important tasks that are contributing to the outcomes that you want, right? Blocking out those times there. Talking about personalizing it, the reason I want to use time blocking for that example is when it comes to personalizing it, there's all sorts of different tools you could use to go about this. You could be somebody like me who you have your book, you write out your to-do list, and then you go through into your next week and you're like, well, you kind of know what you're working with there. I do some time blocking. I think that way. I very rarely literally time block. One of the things that you could also do is the example I used before of putting it on your calendar. Personally, I do that because it helps you to keep that time in the schedule. I also, just knowing myself, I tend to do those things at different times also, but it helps me remember. So it's an important thing there as well. But as far as literally time blocking, you can go block out that time in your schedule. I'm going to be spending 2 hours writing on Thursday. I'm going to be spending 30 minutes Friday morning sending emails, whatever that looks like for you, and blocking that out on there. Then the other key piece there, and I use the calendar as one tool, would be an alarm, another key tool that you could use inside of that, of literally setting a timer and saying, hey, I'm going to spend 30 minutes on emails. That's all I'm doing. And going on your phone, having an alarm that starts at 8:30 and saying, hey, it's email time, and having an alarm that goes off at 9 a.m. that says, hey, you're done with emails, and actually stopping with it, having the discipline to keep it, right? Being honest with yourself about that aspect too. So that's our first tool, time blocking. Our second tool, and these can be used in conjunction with each other, again, finding your own sweet spot. I already kind of alluded to what my crazy, weird, personal sweet spot is that I found with time management. You'll find your own as well. Start by using some of these tools. So the next tool, second tool, is going to be the Eisenhower matrix. So this is one, we almost put a sheet together. Honestly, go Google it, find the best one for you. There's all sorts of different versions of it that might have it written different ways, different kind of language around it. But basically what you do is you have these 4 squares. Right? You have tasks that are urgent, you have tasks that are not urgent, you have tasks that are important, you have tasks that are not important, right? Go through these really quickly on the Eisenhower matrix. So the that top column of urgent and important, those are the things that you are going to do. You want to get those out of the way. Really focus your energy on those. We'll talk some other reasons why and some other tools in a second. But you want to really dive in on those. That's a really important thing, right? Next is the not urgent and important. And these are the ones that you're going to want to decide on. You're going to want to schedule them out, decide when it needs to get done, who needs to be doing it. If it is something to delegate, to kind of look into the next category. But, looking at when that really needs to get done, setting a timeline for it, kind of going back to time blocking, maybe literally scheduling something out of like, this is an important thing. It needs to get done eventually. I don't need to do this right now. So I'm going to set a calendar reminder in June so that I can do this then. And setting something out like that so that when you have more time, you can dive in on it then. Or if it's still not urgent at that time and you don't have time for it, you bump it out again. Those kind of things, just making sure you're controlling them, not just completely cutting it away, right? Because it is something that is important. Then the next piece is the urgent, not important. Those are the things that you're going to delegate. They're not important for you to do, but they are things that need to get done. So you're going to want to delegate those to members in your team, or delegate them to pieces of technology and those kind of things, because there's lots of different ways that you can delegate, right? And then the last piece is the not urgent and not important. And those are the things that you generally just need to delete off of your to-do list. They're not important. They're not urgent. They're just taking up brain space, right? They're taking up your processing power. They're distracting you from the thing that you need to do, which is primarily that first box, the do box, which is the important and the urgent. So that's the Eisenhower matrix, taking that to-do list, going through and cutting those things out. Not a literal time management, but a tool to help you to plan at a better level so that you're using your time on the right things, using your time more effectively. The next is going to be the Pomodoro technique. And so this one, it's really simple. Basically, you're going to go back, kind of setting the timers type thing, like I was talking about, setting those alarms. You're going to spend 25 minutes on something that's really important. Then you're going to spend 5 minutes off. So setting that alarm, 25 minutes, diving in, no distractions, all in. And then you get that 5 minutes. You're going to take a quick 5-minute break at the end there. Timer, once again, 5 minutes goes off. You're back in, dive in, 25 minutes, go through that. Stop, 5 minutes, take a break. Once again, you're going to do that about 4 times, really 3 to 5, depending on what type of thing you're working on. Do those 4 times, so that would be about 2 hours of work right there. Then you'll take a longer break, 15 to 30 minutes, let yourself unplug on that. This one is really effective in if you have tasks that you can break down in those type of areas, something that you can really break down with those bite-sized bites. This is a really effective way to do it, and also you can use it in conjunction with the time blocking and the Eisenhower matrix, like I was talking about. You can really combine these all together in different ways in order to find the tool that is the best fit for you. Next piece there is going to be the 2-minute rule. If it's quick, do it now. And basically, as you go through, there's a lot of things that can take up a lot of space on our to-do list. And when they take up space on our to-do list, and I already kind of said this, they create these open cycles in our head, and they can really distract us and kind of just drain away at that processing power, right? And so if you have things that are quick, especially just quick, easy things, like I always think like sending emails is a good example of this. Just do it. Just get it out of the way, get that email sent, get that all done, and then move on to the other things inside of your life. If it's quick, just do it now, get it out of the way. Procrastinating quick things is such a weird mental thing that we do, because it takes this thing that literally takes 2 minutes and we procrastinate it to the point where it becomes this demon in the back of our head, and it stresses us out and distracts us from the rest of our work. So don't want to do that. If it's quick, just get it done. That's the 2-minute rule. Next piece here is the 80-20 rule. So basically the idea here is the Pareto principle, if I'm getting the name right on that. And the idea is that 80% of the outcomes, 80% of the things that we want to achieve usually come from about 20% of our effort. It's talking about looking at your full to-do list. there's probably 2 or 3 things I'd be willing to bet on there that are going to move you forward, that are going to make an impact, change your business, change your bottom line, change things for your team, really, really make that big impact. There's usually 2 or 3 things that make that 80% impact. And a lot of the time, they don't necessarily take that much time. We just can tend to kind of procrastinate by focusing on other aspects that aren't, again, going back to the Eisenhower matrix, they might be important, but they're not urgent, right? So really going through and making sure that those things that can deliver that outcome, that are most effective in that sense of delivering the outcome, focusing our energy there. And when you do that, you're going to get the outcome that you're working for, and those other things, you'll find time to do them just like you would. That's the fun thing about this. The last tool and really another rule, and the type of thing that you can kind of use these all in conjunction, is the eat the frog rule. And this is one, honestly, I'm sure I got it from an English teacher or something, history professor or something. I don't know where I got it from originally. I think it goes back to William Shakespeare. It might be older than that. Who freaking knows? It's one of those phrases, right? Eat the frog. If you had to eat a frog every single day, would you eat the frog first? You eat it for lunch? You eat it for dinner? The logic here basically is if you had something that sucked that much, you had something that you didn't want to do, something as nasty as just going and eating a frog, well, then you do it right away. Get it out of the way. Make your hardest thing that you have to do in the morning is another way to look at it. When you get out of bed, a lot of people treat workouts like this, and they really have these hard workouts of like, I'm going to make sure the hardest thing I'm doing is something I'm choosing, and I'm doing it first thing in the morning to get it out of the way, because then it's all smooth sailing the rest of the day. I know nothing else can be as hard as what I just did. So what's that frog for you inside of your to-do list, inside of your life, and taking that thing that you hate the most and you're going to procrastinate about, and you're going to think about it all day and how you should be doing it, but you don't want to do it. Those suck, and you got to get them out of the way first, right? Those things that suck the most, those frogs, eat that frog in the morning, and you'll be amazed at how much that does for you mentally for the rest of the day, which then again helps you be more effective with your time as it goes on, right? So those are the 6 kind of tools or tips that I have for you when it comes to time management. Again, I'll go through those quickly. Time blocking, Eisenhower matrix, the Pomodoro technique, the 2-minute rule, 80-20 rule, and eat the frog. Eat the frog is the best one, just probably because of the name, I think. But eating the frog is a good one too, right? Just doesn't quite sound as official, but it's a lot more fun. So some things that you need to remember as you work to be more effective with your time, manage your time more effectively, right? One is that you can't do it all. You're going to have to cut things out. The other thing I always add on that, though, is you can do a lot. If you take the time to plan, take the time to be more effective with how you use your time, then you can do a lot more. When you go in without a plan, you can waste a lot of time. But if you plan a bunch of things into your day, you can get a lot more things done, right? Another big key there, we talked about this a little bit, is building in rest time. Not just necessarily the planning for extra, but actually building in time to rest. Rest is a really important thing, whether it's because you need to shift gears, like I was talking about earlier, of, kind of coming off of a podcast and then you need to go write something and the brain just doesn't want to quite do that. You can shift gears by taking a quick break, helps your brain reset a little bit, helps you perform at that level. So being honest with yourself, just like with a workout or anything, you're going to need to take a break sometime. So making sure you're building those breaks into your schedule when you go through this process of planning out your time. The other aspect there is to focus on consistency and discipline, not the outcomes. When we look at our outcomes are the things that get us motivated, who we want to be, what we want to accomplish, all those kind of things that we're working towards, and all these activities that we're building into our schedule we want to do more of. That's why we're talking about time management, right? All of those things are great and they get us really excited. But when we focus on our outcomes, we can lose the thing that really helps us reach that point. The thing that helps you get your outcomes is the discipline and the consistency inside of your routine, inside of your time management. The more consistent you are with it and the more disciplined you are inside of that routine, the more effective you're going to be, and you're going to get those outcomes. But if all you're measuring yourself against is did you get the outcome or not, instead of valuing consistency and discipline, then you are going to wind up beating yourself up, hurting your performance, and you probably won't necessarily get that outcome. If you want, let's say you want to accomplish something this week, and you didn't get it. Instead of beating yourself up saying, crap, Camden, why didn't I get this? Should have worked harder, should have done all this. You can say, I didn't get the outcome I wanted, but I can look back at this week and say, No, I woke up at 5:30, just like I planned, and I did that. And I'd have my workouts every single morning. And then I clocked in at 8 a.m., just like I planned, and I was conscious of my time. And then after work, I spent 20 minutes reflecting and then another 20 minutes planning that next day, just like I planned, in order to be most effective with my time. And then while I was there, because I did all that, I was more effective with my time. I just didn't get the outcome. Can you see how by focusing on the discipline, the routine, the consistency, the things that actually, the mechanisms really that actually create that success, by focusing on that, you're going to be more effective. When we focus on the outcomes, we can get discouraged, and that's just going to hurt our performance, right? So that's really important to think about when we start talking time management as well. And then the last piece is, and I'm going to stop myself from going down fully on the rabbit hole. We're already at 22 minutes here. Honestly, this is a good teaser right here. Sorry, folks. This is probably going to be just inside of our GBLP premium program. We're going to set this up probably as a satellite video. Otis and I will do talk about resistance and the war of art. But basically on the war of art, what we want to talk about, one, highly recommend the book, Stephen Pressfield, if I got the author right off the top of my head. But one of the things he talks about there is resistance. And the idea that we procrastinate the most, we feel the most anxious towards, we feel this need, this weird resistance towards need to avoid sometimes these things that we're working towards. And the good thing to understand about resistance, one, is it doesn't go anywhere. It's always there. It's always looking for ways to get into your schedule and to mess up all this routine that you're working so hard to keep, working so hard to build, right, by going through these exercises. Resistance tries to get in there. It's always going to try to break those things apart. It doesn't go away. And then the other aspect of resistance is we feel it the most when we're going towards something that we actually care about. So when we start talking about the work we're doing here with Tribe and Purpose, the reason you're signed up for Green Beret Leadership Program, listening to 10X Your Team, all those other great things, the reason you're doing all that is to help you in your pursuit of your purpose, help you to be a better leader in order to pursue your purpose at that level, right? As you get closer to your purpose, as you get closer to those aspects of your life, you're going to feel more resistance, and you should expect it. Know that it's coming. Because you know it's coming, you can get ready for it, right? And you can know they're going to need to fight through it, push through that resistance. So that's a good piece. Do a deep dive inside of GBLP on resistance. Shoot, we might actually just do a Cam and Otis show episode on that, or a 10X Your Team episode on that as well, because resistance is a great topic. War of Art is a great book as well. So highly recommend that. Little bit of a tangent there, but talk about time management. I just want to run through these 6 tools, give you the names again, just in case you want to look them up, do some more research on them, or just be reminded real quick. So first is going to be time blocking, then the Eisenhower matrix. Next is the Pomodoro technique, then the 2-minute rule, then the 80-20 rule, and lastly, eat the frog. So find the right tool for you. Have that honest reflection to fit it into your system the way that it works for you inside of your routine, and help to customize it, because the best system is going to be the one that you stick with. So thank you for your time. If you want to sign up for the Green Beret Leadership Program, to go to 10xyourteam.net/GBLP. Thank you, and we'll see you there.